Yeah, kind of American Gothic meets Golden Retriever. Okay, let me go ahead and do a screen share. And we're going to take a look first at some of the resources that we have available to us on our library's website. So how do we get to the library? Or the library's website and the databases. I'm just going to start from the very basic level. We sign into Canvas. This is an automatic sign in for me, but you may have to put it in if you're using a public computer. One of the things on your dashboard should be the library's resource page. Okay. If it's not, you can click on courses on the left-hand side, courses, and it'll show you all the courses you have access to. One of them should be this library resources or library services page. Okay, so click on library services. Now, the reason I point this this out in particular is all of these databases do not need prior approval from me to use on a paper. Just to refresh everybody's memory with the approved research material policy and the syllabus. If you're going to use anything but a .gov or a .edu, then you need to get prior approval for it. If it's not .gov, .edu, or come from one of these databases. So if you find a site that you like that's a .com, just shoot me an email and I will approve it or disapprove of it. I want that record so I can make sure that you can show me if I forgot that I approved something, which happens with these research papers. Okay, some of the stuff that I want to show you specifically is, probably the Alabama Virtual Library should be one of the first places you go for any research paper that you have here, because the databases are really excellent. Pretty easy to navigate the page. What I would start with is this View All Resources section of the Alabama Virtual Library, because it's going to show you all the helpful databases that you can use, including the database that has the library's card catalog, or at least where things are available. This is WorldCat. This is particularly useful not only to find a book at our library, but also if you want to find a book that you might be able to access through interlibrary loan. Now, that takes a week or two, but it is a good way, if you find a resource that you really like that our library simply doesn't have, to be able to access it. But the database that I want to show you primarily, Academic Search Premier. It's the first one up there. This is a search just like a Google search or Google Advanced Search. You put in your search terms. I'm going to use registered nursing throughout this because I know there's going to be plenty of articles on it. Let's just go registered nurse. Okay, so we have 5,067 results. This is a little bit too much for us to look at. Our goal should be to narrow it down to around 500 results total. Okay, that's not that hard to go through. Okay, it may sound like a lot, but 500, there's 50 per page or even 25 per page. You can get through that in probably 45 minutes to an hour. And when you're researching, that's not a ton of time, but 5,000 is too much. So let's go ahead and work on narrowing our terms. On the left-hand side of the page, you're going to see places where you can narrow your terms. Let's just go with stuff that's been written in the last 10 years. We'll start there. So 2007 to 2017. That only got rid of a couple hundred, but nonetheless, it's pretty good. Okay, we have more options. Academic journals, trade magazines, review, trade publications, newspapers. Generally speaking, an academic journal is going to be your most reliable source of information because it's what's called peer-reviewed. Peer-reviewed journals are ones where people in the field actually edit and look at the articles to make sure that they're accurate, they're scientifically sound, and that they apply to what that journal studies. Also, we can narrow it down by things like references being available. This is useful because you can look at an article's references and actually see things that you might want to look up in other places. I'll look at more of that in a minute. So we're going to narrow it down with scholarly journals. Not sure why that increased it to 2 million. I guess our search term got taken off. There we go. Okay, so we're scholarly journals. We're down to 1,700, which is a little bit more manageable. You can play with this stuff on the left-hand side to find the kind of critiques or things to narrow it down that work best for you. Okay, a couple of things about each of the articles in this database. And this is the same with EBSCOhost and a couple others. There's a difference between an HTML and a PDF full text of an article. HTML is just going to be the words, okay? Whereas a PDF, generally speaking, is like a photocopy of the journal article, okay? So that you get pictures, diagrams, things that wouldn't necessarily appear if you're just providing the words to a journal. Okay, so here's the abstract of this article. I just clicked on it at random. Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist, Working Conditions and Outcomes, a review of the literature. Those, if you're planning on being a nurse anesthetist, this would certainly be a useful citation. We click on the PDF full text and it's going to show you the article here. See how it's more than just the text. We have, you know, the bold, and we have the stuff that's highlighted. We have charts. But this is just as it would appear in that journal. Going back, another thing that's useful about these is, generally speaking, you can click on Cite here on the right-hand side, and it'll show you how to cite it using APA AMA or ABNT references. Now, unfortunately, we're using MLA, so none of these would work. But for a lot of these, they'll show you the MLA documentation. Okay? Questions on this database? Okay. Another thing I want to show you in the Alabama Virtual Library is Encyclopedia Britannica. Now, is this going to give you, ladies, I didn't want to put it on the video, but stop talking, stop playing with your phone. It's very distracting, and I'm trying to make this video not just for this class, but several other students as well. So you're acting pretty selfish right now. Or selfishly, I should say. Okay, the Britannica. No, we don't want to do the school one. There we go. Britannica Academic is what we should look for. Okay, we're going to put in our same research or search term, and this is going to be useful in the career essay because, as I mentioned when I went over the essay, part of what you're going to be doing is kind of giving a definition or an outline of what this career does. Because not everybody's going to know the behind the scenes stuff. So early on in your paper, you're probably going to have to explain to your audience part of what this career does so they have a good picture in their mind of what is being researched. Okay, so our first search term up here lands us on medical profession. This gives you basically an overview of the topic. Now, this isn't going to be as in-depth as you're going to want it to be in order to help you out with a lot of the items for discussion, but it's a good place to find an overall overview of the topic or the career. This also, at the bottom, should give us a sample citation as well. Additional reading. Britannica changed on me. Here we go. Another cool thing about the Britannica is that you can see related articles. So if you're going into a particular branch of nursing, or say you're becoming an engineer and you look up civil engineering, well, there might be a specialty within that field that this would link to that would help you out. Okay. Other than those two, I'll let you kind of play around on your own with the Alabama Virtual Library. But all of these services are very valuable to us as researchers. Okay, so back to the Canvas page for library services. Other stuff that you can get into, which I think is interesting for like English 102, the Literary Reference Center is going to be useful since that is all literature, and also, times and stuff that your library is open. All right, any questions on the library services? Okay, another resource I want to show you guys is the Occupational Outlook Handbook. And this is done by the U.S. Department of Labor, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. If you go to salary.com, if you're going to Monster, if you're going to Career Builder or something, they're getting their statistics from the U.S. Department of Labor in terms of average salary, job availability, all that sort of stuff. Okay? So why not start there? So just do a Google search for Occupational Outlook Handbook, as you see here at the top, and you're going to get to where you need to go. It'll be the first thing on there. Okay, once there, just do a search just like you would on Britannica or Academic Search Premier. First thing pops up, registered nurses. Now, what's really cool about the Occupational Outlook Handbook is it breaks it up into a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing on the career essay. What's the job availability? What's the average salary? What's the training? What they do, work environment, all of this stuff that we're going to be examining for this paper, you're going to be getting at least an overview of it from the Occupational Outlook Handbook. Shows you the basic statistics with the summary to start off with. Here at the top, average salary in the United States is $68,000 and change per year. Good luck getting that around our service area here. Most nurses around here start at about 30, so half that. But you can work your way up there, certainly. Employment change, they're planning on adding 400,000 plus nurses over the next 10 years. Now, something you do have to be careful about, and this is something that I want you guys as critical thinkers to examine with any statistic. What does the statistic not tell us? Okay, so this statistic up here, I know it's small, says 437,000 new nurses will be needed over the next 10 years. How many nursing graduates do they think they're going to be? It doesn't say, of course. So we need to take things like this into consideration, because if there's 400,000 new jobs but 800,000 new nurses, then it's a tough job market, depending on where you are. So you do need to consider all those things when you're looking at statistical data. Don't just trust statistics because they're there. Think about what's not being examined by it. Okay. Another thing that's interesting about the Occupational Outlook Handbook is it has links in the more info section. American Society of Nurses, or excuse me, American Nurses Association, Society of Registered Nurses, all of these things where you can get great information on your chosen career. Okay? Questions about the Occupational Outlook Handbook? No, you don't have a limit on sources. You just have a minimum. You have to use at least 4. And one of those needs to be the STARS guide, which I'm going to show you next. Okay, other questions? Question was, are you going to need to make an outline? And that's yes. You won't have to outline your sources, but you'll have to outline your paper. Other questions? Okay, back to the school's homepage is actually where we're going to be, coastalalabama.edu. One of the things you have to use in the career essay is you have to access your STARS guide. You have to copy and paste the first page of your STARS guide and put it at the end of your paper. What page is that that I need? Well, on the first page of your STARS guide, it's going to show your name and address and stuff like that. So how do we get to it? We're on the Coastal Alabama Community College homepage. Under Students, about halfway down is the STARS guide. And I don't see red very well, so I didn't see the link. Okay, once you click on the link to the STARS guide, we click on Get the Guide. Okay, you can do official or unofficial. For the sake of this demonstration, I'll show you the official. The first thing they're going to ask you is, what's your current situation? So you are at a 2-year public community college. Probably most of you, if you're going to transfer, are going to transfer to a 4-year school. Now, some of you, this goes for all of my classes, may be planning on transferring to, or not transferring, excuse me, your job doesn't require it. Say, you're going to go through the nursing or planning on going through the nursing program here, and that's it. Well, get the STARS guide and look it up in case you do want to get a 4-year degree down the road. So even if it's not in your immediate plans to get a 4-year degree, hypothetically speaking, if you were to get a 4-year degree, fill out the STARS guide for your hypothetical degree. Okay, so we click on Get the Guide, and we put in our fake email address. Always use Mickey Mouse. Bear with me while I put in this information. Okay, at the bottom here, it's going to ask you if you want to get text messages. This would be getting text messages from prospective colleges. If you really want to keep your options open and get information from colleges and don't mind a few extra text messages, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do this. Also, if something in your STARS plan changes, they'll send you a text message. Okay, so we put in the community college we're currently attending, Coastal. And I will just do something I know that's going to be at multiple schools, so I'm doing biology. Now, if you're planning on being like a physical therapist or something like that that's in the medical field that doesn't necessarily have a pre-physical therapy, do biology, zoology, anatomy, something that would lead into what you're doing. All right, when we continue to step 3, we pick 2 colleges to avoid fights. I just do Alabama and Auburn. Now, you'll notice here, and we should be used to this in the internet world, these things are already selected yes. Okay, well, what these say down here, you can send my personal contact information and send me information from other schools. If you don't want to get a bunch of mail from the schools that you're looking into, go ahead and deselect these. And then you click Get the Guide. Now you can see this first page, this is what I need right here that's highlighted at the bottom of your paper. It says STARS Transfer Guide. It has the name and address stuff here. So I know that you actually were the one who put in the guide and you weren't just doing it for no reason. Now, what's really cool about the STARS guide is it shows you the classes you're going to need in your major that you can take here, but also it provides a link to the Area 5 page at your chosen school, so you'll get to see what you might take in the future. This is where STARS can be useful in the paper, especially if you're not quite sure what school you want to go to, what major you want to have, those sorts of things, because you can go to the Area 5 page. This is just at Alabama A&M because that's the one at the top, and it'll show you what you need for that degree once you get to the 4-year school. So you can see the prerequisites you need to take and what work you're going to have to do once you get there. Okay, so this is a valuable resource to just keep yourself on track for graduation. All right, any questions about the STARS guide? Well, if you don't want to, you don't have to have an education discussion in your paper. as long as you have that first page, you're meeting the requirement of the paper. You have to have that first page and you have to cite it on your works cited page. The part that I highlighted, yes. So this part from the top to the end of the instructions. That's it. Copy and paste it to the bottom of the document. You can do a screenshot if you'd like. So this is all you have to have at the end of your page. The stuff that has your name and your address, so I know that was actually you who looked it up. Other questions? No. No. The question was, does it count for our word count? The only thing that counts for your word count is the actual body of the essay. The works cited and the stars page do not count. Okay, so I'm going to make a separate video to give you guys some help with the instructions to the documentation exercise in my brick and mortar classes. Basically, it's going to be a tutorial through the OWL Purdue, but I will do that later. Let me go ahead and wrap this up and turn off my Hangout.